right, so we're recording. Okay, so this is my guest, Norma Jean Gradsky. Okay, a very distinguished voiceover artist who has a long career behind her as an instructor, a professor, an actress, and many other things, some of which I know about, some of which I don't. And I am pleased to have her with us again. And today we're going to discuss some of the mechanics of being a voiceover professional, and uh, and we'll see what comes of these questions. I think a lot will come of it. Norma, how are you doing today?
Hi, just doing just great. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Hey, the pleasure is all mine, truly. So, Norma, would you mind if I asked you a little bit about your? You are currently you currently teach acting, is that right?
No, I'm not currently teaching anything.
Oh, okay.
Um, I guess to preface my background, I was teaching speech, debate, oral interpretation of literature, and
Oh,
acting
wow.
classes, and I've done teaching. That was high school, and I've also been an adjunct professor at university for speech. And assisting with the forensics debate, speech, oral interp team. I had to take an early retirement. I am now a caregiver for my mom. Um, I uh, I live with her, and I'm her 24-hour caregiver, and that's why voiceover
Oh,
came
wow.
into being for me.
Yeah, tell us. So that's. I mean, I do a little voiceover work myself. I'm not in your league, obviously, but
Oh, so sweet.
well, but so the idea is just from a kind of logistical standpoint, that's pretty convenient work. Is that kind of the idea?
Yes, logistically, it was convenient. Looking for something. I wasn't ready to retire. I want to work, and um, I feel like I'm in my prime, as Miss Jean Brodie would say. That movie might be too old for you, but
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. The Prime Minister Gene Brody.
so, um, so this seemed to fill a niche for me, since I have to be home and I want to work from home, and I want to use the skills I already possess. This seemed like a good fit.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I mean, okay, I've worked with because I do have a large output, and I've worked with a lot of voiceover people, and I've worked with and a couple were actual pros. Okay, not just ACX pros, but like one guy, hell of a narrator, actually did the oh yeah, actually one guy did the like a national commercial for Bennigan's, and another guy did the State Farm commercial. I mean these are actual pros, and the State Farm guy is good, but you are the best of the ones I've worked with, and not all of these people are total slouches. And so I'm assuming that your career as a voiceover artist is must be really hopping. I mean,
Ha. First of all, I'm blushing. I know we're just doing voice only. Good thing, because I'm blushing from the
okay,
neck up. And thank you so much for the
sure,
compliment.
no,
It's
quite serious.
needed. It's needed at this point in my little burgeoning career, because to answer your question, no, I'm not hot right now. There's a lot of work and a lot of business that goes along with just the talent end of it. And I'm learning that. It's a learning process, a journey, um, sometimes very frustrating, but I'm very hopeful, and comments like that make me feel even more hopeful.
Well,
It,
I'm not saying this to butter you up or to elicit some an emotional response of any kind. I mean, I mean, I
yeah.
don't. But I'm just saying this. I'm just running the diagnostics here. I mean, I have worked with a lot of people, and these are facts. As you can verify if you go to my Amazon page, and I mean you are you're good at voiceover work. I mean I can tell you this. I'm a musician. I'm a composer. I'm a mimic. I mean this is what I do. It's one of the things I do. But what I don't, what I find what I am interested in, very interested in, is what you said. You said, look, okay, part of professional success has to do with talent, ability, or talent or whatever. But then you also said, well, there's a lot of business that goes along with it, and that rings a lot of bells because I've done a lot of work, and there was certainly substantive success and critical success, but I have yet to really experience commercial success in any meaningful way. And the problems I've had have to do with marketing, and they have to do with this sort of like, Edmund Bernays, he was the founder of modern advertising. He wrote this book called Propaganda about how it's all about this invisible network of puppeteers who are controlling everything. And now I realize that he's right. But I'm wondering if you could tell me about.
I'm familiar with his work. I remember
Oh, really?
studying that in public relations
Oh,
uh,
wow.
class that I took. Yes, I remember studying him.
Well, I mean, is it? I mean, he was right. It seems to me now. I mean,
Yes, I,
tell me about the business. Tell me about explain what you said about the marketing and about the business aspect of it and how you're having some difficulties there.
um, Ooh, first of all, there are several different specific niches to voiceover work. It's good to focus on one or two to find the area that you most enjoy and that you're most suitable for.
Hmm.
And of all these different niches, the way to monetize or make some money are different for each one. But it does appear that it is contingent upon your marketing yourself. With the voiceover artists working from their home studios, um, there are, as I said, several avenues. There are what's called or what's referred to as pay to play sites. Voices.com is probably the largest. And you essentially pay a fee to them
Jeez.
and
Uh-huh.
for the opportunity to audition for jobs. So they're the middleman of the marketing phase. Most people that I follow, that are professionals in their field, are moving away from that. They don't like the practices. Those sites are scalping voiceover artists. It's kind of disgraceful, actually. So self-marketing has come into play, and that's finding your niche and reaching out to organizations, corporations, production houses, whatever suits your particular need.
Are there any? I mean, it seems to me that you. It's not really for me to say, but it seems to me that you'd be sort of lowering yourself just by kind of registering for one of these services. I mean, you're kind of better than that. I mean, like, how do the major voiceover artists, the people who actually make a living at it, I mean, how do they do it? I mean, they don't go through these sites. Do they have agents, or how does it work?
Um, yes, and that's what I'm discovering. It's part of my educational process, trying to figure out how does this work and where do I fit in. Yes, they have agents, usually a combination. And some of the top leaders, the artists in the industry, say that they just keep a basket of different venues and avenues to work. But the goal is to essentially build your own clientele and have repeat clients and um, as one um, as one voiceover artist that I follow, Mark Scott, says, they walk in the door. So once you've done your work with marketing, hopefully, then you've just got a continuum of clients.
Okay, and again, I'm sorry if I ask you sort of lawyer like kind of series of questions, but um, now you definitely have the talent down, and you definitely have the background down. But now, what are you doing in the way of marketing? Just explain this to me again.
Not much, Dr. K.
Didn't mean to irritate you, but these questions do have to be asked.
No, not much. I'm really in the process of discovering what it is I need to do. I don't use a pay to play site. The way that we met was through ACX, which is audio audiobook connect.
Audiobook exchange.
Yes, and I chose that because one, my favorite niche is character acting and narration and audiobooks appeal to me. And two, it was a low barrier to entry. One did not need to have a professionally produced demo, which costs $1,500 sometimes. You simply choose a book and an author that you would enjoy interpreting his work and audition for it. So, and I'm still doing ACX. I'm enjoying it and building my portfolio that way. Um, so I've not done any individual marketing as yet, but I'm moving in that direction. Um,
No.
one thing
Mhm, go ahead.
producing
Go ahead.
audio, For one
Yes.
thing, producing audiobooks is very work and time
Yes.
intensive.
Yes, it is.
Um, and, I sort of look with envy at people that do commercials. What, a 60-second spot? It seems like a piece of cake. It's not. It's an art in itself. But as far as the editing and the production side of it, and on ACX of the audiobook world, on ACX, you do produce. You are the studio producer
Yes.
um, of your recordings as well.
I mean, yeah, and just to kind of fill in, our listeners here. I mean, so I'm okay. So I have really quite poor equipment. I mean, I use I use a $200 computer and a $15 headset, but I still have to. I mean, just to manicure the post production, getting rid of the little breathing sounds and the little yucky little sounds that are inevitably made in a recording. I mean, that takes 10 times as long as making the bloody recording. That's what I've found.
It
I mean,
certainly does.
yeah. I mean, it's
The
now.
editing and mastering has been quite a challenge to learn. But I'm there, I think.
No, I mean, you definitely have it down. I mean, the quality of your stuff. I'm not referring just to the actual voiceover work itself, but I mean, it seems that it's pretty well edited. I mean, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you do a commercial, I mean, you make, so let's say you do, a Bennigan's commercial or whatever, that's 60 seconds. And I don't think you have to be a particularly good voiceover artist to do it. And no, you get paid a lot. You don't do any of the post production. I mean, it seems like a good deal all around, I would think.
Yes, for years the model has been that you go into a studio, you're the talent, and
Right,
there's these engineers and everyone
right.
doing everything else. It's a new world, and I certainly, although I have found it challenging, it's certainly interesting to learn audio production. And I'm just a baby, and ACX doesn't require, that it's producers, and they call you producers rather than narrators.
Right.
It doesn't require really fine skills from its producers. And those that are most successful and are paid upfront for their work will subcontract their finished audio to a professional producer, an audio engineer. And that is my dream. That is my dream. Because then you can record so much more. It was just clearly the bulk of the time. I think the last book I did for you, I recorded it in 2 days, but
Right.
it took me 2 weeks to edit and master it. So clearly that would be my goal on ACX. You know,
Yeah. Go ahead. Yes, please.
I
Continue.
don't mean to hog the
No,
conversation,
hog the conversation. This is
but
about you.
a couple things you were talking about
Yes.
equipment, and I just wanted a disclaimer here. I'm just using my internal microphone on my PC right now.
Hmm.
Um, so it doesn't sound great. You sound great on your end.
Oh, well, thanks.
But excuse me,
That's all right.
excuse me, I've got to mute the microphone for a minute.
That's all right.
There we go. Um, the other thing that I wanted to bring up, and it seems to be kind of a big point in the voiceover industry right now. There are other ways to start your working career, and other sites besides the pay to play. There are sites like Fiverr and Upwork, and
Both of which I'm on. Not in my capacity as voiceover person, but both of which I'm on. That's right.
it's a good
Yeah.
place to find people to help you with book covers, things like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Voiceover artists are concerned about them undercutting the industry. I mean, there's not much you can do about it except to encourage people not to devalue themselves. The rate standard in voiceover it varies, but there is kind of a threshold of what we should charge, and $5 is not it. So, but you can, and I have done some work on Fiverr and Upwork.com.
And people have actually. There's been some liquidity there because there sure as heck isn't on ACX. I mean, no offense, ACX, but I mean, I mean, you got to admit the payday is, not exactly a bonanza. Well, I don't know, but you actually are making some money on Fiverr and Upwork, if I may
Well,
put it
I
so
don't do it, I
crudely.
don't do it anymore since I realized that, it was too damn cheap. But I made a little money, yes, just to get started. Um, and I didn't own my equipment then either. So, I did some internet overdubs for videos and things like that. And, it's nice to be able to help out people that are also just starting. Well, I feel okay about it. And money's money. And one narrator I know does the $5, just she'll do 250 words for $5, but she works like Walmart on volume because she can knock those out. And so she's doing well.
Really? Oh wow.
Doing okay. She's doing okay with that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, what is in terms of ACX? I mean, ACX is a great thing, right? I mean, Amazon is a great thing. I mean, just it's really for independent authors and independent narrators. It's kind of these things are a dream come true. I mean, from a kind of artistic, from the standpoint of self-expression. But
The
how do you feel in terms of their
multitasking.
marketing? I mean, has ACX done much for you in the way of marketing you or helping you out with your career? I mean,
No. No, I don't think that's their purview.
okay,
They've helped me out with questions and my mistakes and things like that. They've been very gracious. But I don't, and then they've got information and videos. They've done a lot of work that they've installed on their site to help you market yourself. They encourage you to do that, to market, your books and um, mm,
and that's why I'm doing this podcast. You know, they said, hey, use Podomatic, start a podcast. And I'm having a whale of a time doing this podcast. It started out, it was intended to, I started this podcast in order to promote my books. Now that ship, I mean, I still do that occasionally, but yeah, but so they told me to market it. The problem is I don't know anything about marketing. I thought, they would know something about marketing. You know, I don't know.
well, no, they're not a business school. Like I said, that's not their
That's
purview, but they do, they have ACX University, and I've watched a few videos on specifically on marketing and what some of their more successful narrators and authors do and use. And they put out, information and content every couple of weeks on it. It's available everywhere online. It's kind of the same grind, and it is a grind. Yeah, no pun intended, no insult intended, but
no, that's fine.
it is a grind. I mean, social media, so you're podcasting, you're blogging, you're tweeting, you're Instagramming, I just throw my hands up and go, oh no. No, 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 no. I don't like it. But in simplistic terms, if people don't know you're there, they can't buy it, right?
Well, no, that's certainly true. That's not disputed, and nobody's really even complaining. I think
Am.
what I'm here's the thing, which is that I mean, as you know, right? I personally spend. Okay, so there's okay, so I do the actual writing itself, right? Okay, that's fine, right? That's not about money. That's a different thing. That's sort of an existential thing. Okay, fine. But then, as you also know, right, I spend a ton of time, promoting my own stuff. I make those little YouTube videos. They're not great videos, but it does take a while to make them, even though they're rather poor. But the thing is that here's what I'm learning, and here's what I now know, which is why I I'm going to business school, which is that if you kind of do this, one person marketing, if you try to market yourself, I don't know that it really goes anywhere. I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, look, the difference between you and somebody who makes, 500,000 bucks a year doing voiceover work is not that they're a better voiceover person. I'm not saying this to curry favor with you. I mean, it's just a fact. I mean, it's that I think that there are sort of companies or something that you have to be kind of hooked into. I mean, I think that they take care of it. If you try and do it on your own, it's like trying to sell you know, you're sort of like one of those people who tries to sell socks, on a freeway, entrance ramp. I mean, it's just brutal. Like the proverbial ragman in New York City in 1900. I mean,
Uh,
I mean, I think there's something that you and I specifically kind of don't know about marketing. I think.
there's a lot I don't know about it. Uh, and yes, I mean, it would be such a luxury, and that is kind of the old model uh, for actors and voice artists, and their
Uh,
agent markets them, um, and and having an agent is certainly one of the things in your basket that you should have as a voiceover artist. Um, and as an author, I've read some of the marketing venues for authors too. It
uh,
just somehow feels overwhelming.
yeah, I don't buy it because the thing is that if you take all this advice that people are giving you, it's like, okay, here's the silver bullet. Okay, so you're an independent author and you want to market yourself, or you're an independent of this, you're an independent of that. So here's how you do it. I mean, if you actually follow their advice, I mean, you're just burning up all your energy and time. It's just interminable. I don't quite buy it. I think there's something. I don't know. I think that you can be an independent creative artist, right? You can be like me and write your own material, and do that. But I think when it comes to the business aspect of it, I think you need kind of some help. Like you need to have some real muscle behind you. That's what I'm finding. That's what I'm beginning to believe. I don't mean to throw cold water on. Well, I do mean to throw cold water on people who believe that you can do it all by yourself. I mean, that's my feeling. That's my feeling, right? Because I've
Yeah.
certainly I've been Facebooking and twitting and tweeting or whatever, and I don't know about Instagram. I actually don't even. I'll tell you one other thing. I don't actually understand a lot of these different social media sites. I don't know what. Like, okay, so Facebook I understand. Twitter I guess I understand, right? I guess you say it and somebody listens, but like I don't really know what Dig is. I like Dig, but or Odno Klasniki, or you probably haven't even heard of these. I mean, or I don't even know what Instagram is. I don't know what Pinterest is. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't understand it. I think I'm even a member. Like, do you actually understand these things?
Um, no, and as a teacher, I relied on my students to do a lot of
Okay.
this. No, and here's the thing, and I think it's a bad thing that I need to rid myself of, but I don't want to understand it. I don't want any more tech in my life. Just looking at how to market, the web page, or got to learn to do a web page, a blog, got to learn to do a blog. What about the graphics and I mean, I'm just, you can probably hear it in my voice. It's just, it overwhelms me. Um, I don't want to learn any more
And I
new
don't think that's I don't think
skills.
that's to your discredit. I think that you're not wanting to learn more about it. It actually shows sanity. I mean, this in the sense that I think maybe look, there's this. Okay, so you and I are old enough to remember the pre-internet time, right? Um,
Yes.
and quite frankly, the internet time is a little better, I think. But here's the thing, which is that so the internet happened. I don't really know what it was like at the very beginning, but okay, so right now I think there's still this belief that there's all this opportunity that you can use the internet to sidestep all of these conventional professional channels, but I think that's kind of an illusion. I mean, I think the internet it opened up a lot of opportunities. It really changed the nature of the opportunities that are out there and increased them. But I still think that I don't think it's this kind of every man for himself sort of thing. Like I think you do need to. I think okay. So back in the day, if you wanted to do XYZ, you had to go to certain schools. There were certain steps, certain hoops you had to jump through. Now the internet came along, and what people think is, oh, now that the internet is here, I don't need to jump through any hoops. I can just do it on my own. I can just create a website or something, and there it is. Um, I think the internet changed things, okay, and I think that it gave people a lot of flexibility, but I still think that there are very definite hoops that you have to go through. And I think that this idea that uh, that okay, well, thanks to the internet, there's been this kind of recrudescence of the old business model whereby you can just sort of open like a little fruit stand on your own and make money. That whole idea is an illusion. I mean, I don't think it's. I'm not making a lot of sense
Well,
here, but
not for
uh, Mhm.
I know what you're saying, and not for everyone, certainly, because there's so many everyone's
Right,
doing it.
exactly.
It is so annoying. My email is so annoying. I could scream, um, but there have been definitely successful people using that model successfully. And I know pre-internet days, when I did theatrical
Right,
productions, and I was a theatrical publicist, and so I knew all of the contacts at the press room, and it was in San Francisco. And yes, you do need people that have control of kind of the machine.
right.
Um, and they're we could hire such a person, an internet publicist, quote unquote, to market us, just finding one
Right.
that does have. I understand what you're saying. I don't understand how to become a member of that club.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm going to business school because, I mean, I think that well, one thing before I go into that, um, so like you mentioned on several occasions, you and I have both mentioned, hiring kind of a marketing person. But the problem there, of course, is what if that person is just a barracuda? What if they don't?
Right.
First of all, they're not going to. I mean, if they work on a contingency basis, if they just take a percentage, that'd be fine. But I really doubt that's how they work, right? I mean, is that how they work? No, you probably have to pay them, right, up front.
I would think so. As a theatrical publicist, sometimes I took a percentage, and sometimes donated it as an agent for a production, as an angel for a production. I remember doing that on one in particular. Like I didn't make any money on that. I donated, thinking eventually it would take off, but it closed.
Now, one thing, which is that what I will do, and I think it'll be of some assistance, not a lot of assistance to you, but it'll be of some. Which is that I think I'll, if you don't mind, maybe I will post some samples of your work. You can choose the samples, but I'll just do that, and because I do have listeners, quite a few, by the way, and so they can, and this is all free of charge, and so I could do that for you if you don't mind.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Of course, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Um, and and that's the nice thing about ACX too. You can post all your samples there if anyone's, an author is searching for a narrator there. Um, and I appreciate that. And your YouTube channel has got uh, some samples on there. Um,
It does, but you see, I get the amount of traffic that this podcast gets. I understand it's a backwater in a big way, but uh, I mean, I get 500 visitors. These are different people every day, and from all over the world at this podcast. I get zero visitors at my YouTube channels.
mm,
Right, I get very little traffic on ACX on Audible, and I mean, no, this podcast. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is, but like YouTube is. I think YouTube has been completely taken over by marketing companies or something, and I think Podomatic is actually kind of virgin territory.
wow.
Yeah, so because I mean, my YouTube channel is fine, right? But there's the content is okay, right? But I mean, I get zero visitors or one visitor a day, and here I get a ton, and my audience is growing all the time. Uh,
Hi, audience.
yeah,
Welcome, visitors. Well,
yeah,
great. I'd, I'd really
yeah. Well,
appreciate
no, it's
that.
no
That's
problem.
marketing, isn't it?
Well, this is marketing. It's still
Yes.
amateur marketing in a big way, but the other thing is that I do have it on pretty good authority from a business friend of mine that actually Podomatic is kind of an up and coming thing. So YouTube apparently is a total dead end. Like people who try to self market on YouTube are just wasting their time. But Podomatic apparently is not a dead end from that viewpoint.
I have read statistics that, podcast listening and audiobook listening is
Increasing,
rising.
yeah, it is.
Uh,
What's this thing about paying the? If you don't mind my asking, I realize it's somewhat. Look, the reason I'm asking you these hard questions is that I see I'm optimistic about your situation. I just think that there's some horizon that you will cross that is pretty easily crossed that you just don't know about. And so that's why I'm kind of the reason I'm hitting all these raw nerves is because I don't think you really have anything to worry about. But that said, I'm going to ask another question that might rub you the wrong way, which is you were mentioning the $1,500 for a demo reel or something. Tell me about that.
A professionally produced in a studio with
Right.
really, uh, high tier equipment.
Oh,
Um, and it usually includes a coach to coach you through your demo. You put together a demo. I keep wanting to say tape. I'm really aging myself.
no, tape. Yeah, that's whatever,
Reel, uh,
track or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, a demonstration of your abilities, and depending on your niche, they are constructed differently. But most of them, say a commercial demo, will have different clips, several different clips of different approaches: a hard sell, a soft sell, a sexy sell, a comedy sell. There's demos for voiceover artists who do cartoon characters or video games.
Hmm.
Demos for people who do commercial, which is a niche I'm interested in, e-learning and commercial, usually like industrial videos, training tapes, training videos, etc.
Right.
And so those demos, that's your calling card. When you do try to market, or if you're reaching out, if you're responding to an audition call on one of the pay-to-play sites, you need to have your calling card, your demo. Casting agents, producers, publishers have very little time, and so they'll listen to this 1 minute clip with a variety of your talents
Uh-huh.
and make their decisions off of that.
Wait,
So,
but so let's say you send. Okay, so let's say you're on one of these sites. I mean, you said pay to play, or I mean, I've never heard of it, but so you're on one of these sites, and then like the Kentucky Fried Chicken CEO, says, hey, Norma Jean, I like your work. You have to send them a demo. I don't get it.
on those, if I were marketing
Right.
myself, if I were reaching out to, well, say I want to do corporate
Right.
uh, training films or
Okay.
e-learning, I look for the e-learning companies that produce these, it's a big little subsect of the market that
Okay.
produce the e-learning videos. And then I would find the contact person in that organization and approach them with an email or and send my demo for them to listen to my voice.
Right.
On the pay-to-play sites, your demo is up there. They all have slightly different models, but if someone's looking for talent, they go to the site and listen to demos. The talent might be described as soft sell, middle aged, for a wine commercial, say. And so they'll start listening to talent and they listen to your demo. And I hear that they don't actually often listen to the whole thing, which is only maybe 2 minutes max. So that's your calling card.
Yeah, but
That's
you.
simple.
I know I've said this. Okay, but I mean, you have demos, right? I mean, that's how I knew who you were, right? I mean, I heard of a recording of you. I just hit a button. I mean, what was the problem? I mean, it doesn't.
You hit a button for a sample that's on ACX.
Yeah.
ACX is a little different model. They actually don't want a commercial demo on there, which most voice actors have. Um, you audition for specific. Um, their model's different. Well, you work on there. You
Yeah, I
put
do. Yeah.
up to open to auditions.
Right.
Then people audition for it. Then you listen to the auditions and decide.
Right.
The other sites, if you wanted a voice actor for your project, you would go on the site and you'd start listening to demos instead of putting, and then accept auditions with your particular script. It's
Okay.
just a little different, right?
But yeah, I don't see. Yeah. Okay. Look, I got to ask you though. I mean, 1,500 clams. I mean, look. I mean, you're the talent. They should be paying you. I mean, what's the problem? I mean, no. I mean, do you think that like, do you think that Robert De Niro or whatever has to pay to create a demo? I mean, do you think he ever did? I mean, that seems like I'm being a little sour here, but it sounds like a bit of a ripoff. I mean,
Kind of old school as you'd go to the casting
right,
agent's office and audition live.
right,
Uh, no, I know it's part of the whole new internet world, and I guess sometimes the reason I get frustrated is everybody wants your money. And I guess it sounds like, I want some of your money too, but, here's studio engineers. I worked in a recording studio one summer for, with a rock and roll band, and I was just kind of the coffee girl.
Right.
But the engineers and the equipment and the producer, they were all professionals. It was all the big overhead, and the sound was amazing. I cannot reproduce that sound in my home studio, which brings me to another
Yep.
problem.
Please. Yes.
If I'm submitting a demo that sounds amazing,
Right.
the audio, and then I get a job and I'm
Right.
recording it in my home studio. It's like, hello. So I'm starting to get your point, Dr. K. Why don't I send them the real deal demo that I can produce? Because essentially that's what I'll be producing.
Well,
Although I,
listen. I mean, the person who's listening to your voice presumably is not tone deaf, right? I mean, so they can say, okay, well, look, this person has a good voice. This person's equipment is not top notch, but that's no big deal because we're Sony or we're the company that's going to hire her. I mean, what's the problem? I mean,
well, some companies actually will hire. One of my coaches was one of her first jobs. She was on a pay to play site, and a national radio organization hired her, but they asked that she go to a studio and they paid for it, a professional studio to do the actual work. So that happens too, but they picked up that bill and paid her her rate, which was a good rate.
right,
Um,
right.
uh, I don't know. There's so many. So I know you're asking me about the demo because
It just seems like a straightforward ripoff. I mean, it's just totally absurd. I mean,
everybody's selling them, but not everybody, but having worked in the studio, I do see there is expertise involved, and the sound quality is pretty awesome.
it
Uh,
is, but that's not your job, right? I mean, like, let's say, McDonald's hires you, right? I mean, so, okay, there are a couple of phases, right? They need to verify that you have the right voice, which they can do on the basis of a phone call, okay, in principle, unless they're idiots, right? And then you walk into their studio and they do all of the production and post production, right?
well, my understanding, and again, I want to say that I'm a newbie, so if anybody is listening and wants to comment, it'd be a great
Right,
conversation to have. But my understanding is McDonald's would
right,
probably hire you through your agent, right?
right,
Through an agency. In turn, in order to get an agent, you
right.
must have a demo to submit to them, and it's got to be a hell of a demo to submit to them for them to represent you in the first place. It's, it's
Hmm.
circular. And McDonald's would hire you through the agency. And then, yes, I would definitely assume for McDonald's, you'd go to a professional studio at their cost.
All right, well, that's a
Yes.
good question. So we've, I think, isolated. We're now at the center of the shrubbery maze. Okay, so let's focus on the big money. Okay, here. So let's suppose that I understand, like, maybe McDonald's, like, their corporate practices are evil, but we're just using them as an example, right? Okay, so let's suppose that you want to get hired by McDonald's or whoever. How do you do that? Okay, so you're saying that you go through an agent, okay, and then you're saying, okay, well, the agent needs, some kind of $1,500 demo. Well, that's a very clear claim, and it's either true or false. I question that claim. I seriously question that claim. Right? I mean, I think what you and I have to do is figure out exactly how you get a job. How do you get the big money jobs? How do you do that? How do you do that? Um, I, 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 I find that hard to believe. Like, so some music producer needs, I mean, let's say I'm a music producer and I'm looking for talent and somebody sends me a good piece of music, but it's not well produced. I mean, am I going to turn them down? I don't know. That doesn't,
Well, that's how I spent my summer in that music studio. It was up and coming, and it's actually a really good producer who just passed away this summer. That
uh-huh.
he produced Blue Oyster Cult. I
Oh,
mean, and
wow.
I'm aging myself, but yeah. And so this band that spent the summer recording,
Wow.
he took a chance on them. Yes,
He did do that?
yes,
Really?
yes,
Oh, there you
yes.
go. Wow.
And do you know, I can't remember the specifics, but it had a sad ending because they were under contract, I think, to Sony or,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know. And then they, they, their business changed. I can't remember
No, no, no,
the,
tell me, this is interesting.
but, and so they were dropped before they could even, uh, they recorded their album, but the business model at Sony changed. Maybe they were with another smaller
Uh,
label, and Sony bought them, and so Sony didn't take them. I don't know.
oh,
It turned
wow.
so it had a sad ending. It never came to the market.
Yeah, okay, all right. Wow.
I know. It was sad. It's a long time ago, but it's making me sad again. They were such great musicians, and their material was great. Their music was great. Anyway, too bad. Life is hard.
Yeah, well, I don't know that it has to be. I mean, you have a very, very distinctive voice. I mean, I kind of, you have that kind of, no, it's a very distinctive voice, and I mean, it's one that is definitely in high demand. I mean, and you have a lot of flexibility. So no, I definitely think that there's just something that you don't know that I don't know about business. But I think because look, right now your current model is basically the sort of buckshot method, which is kind of like make a sale here, make a sale there, and hope that it all adds up. But that's just burning up too much of your time and energy. And you know,
Well, I'm learning. I'm really learning. Um, I've learned not to undercut myself. I am, and on ACX, there are two business models on there for voiceover artists. One is royalty share with the author, which does democratize the system. An author that can't afford to hire a professional voiceover artist can offer them half of their sales on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes, right?
right?
And so, the voiceover artist is essentially taking all the risk there, but I'm learning, and, it's building my portfolio. And I guess there's a science to, you do some um, background investigation to figure out for yourself if you think this author's work is going to sell well when you choose. And then the other model is to be paid up front per finished hour, it's called.
Right.
Um, and
Have you done that yet?
I've been auditioning for them. I kind of worked myself up to it until I thought, hey, I'm pretty good.
Well, you
And
are. Yeah. Well,
auditioning, I've been auditioning for them, and no, I just got another rejection this morning. I haven't landed a job yet, but that's the life of a performing artist. It's
if I may ask, how many
rejection.
auditions how many of these auditions have you done?
Have I?
The ones where you're auditioning for pay up front.
Oh, I think because submitting an audition's a lot of work too. You have to edit it and produce it, and
Hmm.
I read the whole book. I buy the book and read it. I'm a serious, I attack the problem seriously.
Right.
So I think I've only probably done five.
Yeah, that's nothing though. I mean, that's nothing. I mean,
No, but
yeah.
slow but sure, five or six. But a couple of them I just loved, and I thought that I was perfect. And I even had an hour with a top coach in the nation, and I gave him that demo to kind of critique. And he thought I had a chance too, but I didn't get it.
Yeah. No, I think you're selling yourself a little short here. But yeah, that's kind of surprising. Yeah, I wouldn't put any stock in that. If I may ask, what you don't have to tell me the specific projects, but what sorts of projects were they? Were they novels or what were they?
Yes, I enjoy narration. I really do, and I think that might be my niche. And I really expect to use some of the work that I used for you to try to sell myself to um, for commercial narration,
Right.
for industrial commercial, because it's a really dense, complicated manuscript, and I
Hmm.
made sense of it,
You sure did. Yeah.
and that's important. Um, but to get back around to your question,
Sure.
I miss, yes, they're novels, it's fiction, it's character work. And I miss that. It's delightful to use your voice to do different characters in dialogues, or three or four different characters in the room at the same time. Really takes some skill, and I find it very enjoyable. It's acting. It's acting. I really like it. So I've been auditioning for those types.
And you're a hell of an actress. Actually, the one so okay, so you did a thing called the butterfly dress,
Yes.
which you did a
Yeah.
hell of a job on that. I mean, I would use that as your audition. I mean, I guess um, I thought that was
Was it?
darn good. I mean,
Well, thank you. The author loved it too. I made her cry. I like the butterfly dress. It's just a short children's, well, a poem for a bedside story for children, I guess. But that's
mhm.
acting or oral interpretation of literature, which is, part of what I've done for a long time. I enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, sure. But you said you were with a coach. Why? I mean, you yourself are a coach, aren't you? I mean, why were you with a coach? Why
Yes,
did you have a coach?
yes, I have been a coach. This coach, I have a dear friend in San Francisco, who's excited that she's a musician, by the way,
Hmm.
a professional musician, but it was excited that I'm trying this new outlet for my training and talents. And for my birthday present, she happens to be good friends with um, a fellow that's a big wig in voiceover. I didn't realize this, but so for my birthday present, she bought me an hour coaching time with him. And
Oh,
so
oh,
that's
okay.
how I used him. It was a present. And funny, I was after the coaching session via Zoom, then I just started reading more about voiceover, and I find out he's really, big he's
It's
big
a big
big
shot.
deal. He's a big deal nationwide. I knew that he was a professional with lots of success, but
Was he helpful?
oh yes, yes he was. I mean, it's always good to have a coach. It's good to have someone listen to your stuff, and you hate to impose upon your friends to do it. I had to quit that because they're like, oh God, here's another email from Norma Jean, and she wants me to listen to another. Oh God, so it's good to have a coach. It's
Well,
good to have
this
fresh
guy
air.
has connections, right? By definition.
Yes, and he also does part of his business is coaching and producing demos. And that's where I got the $1,500 price tag, more or less. Not just his. His might have been less, as a matter of fact. San Francisco is a high price market, but
Right.
I have seen them 1,200. Some colleagues, I stay on social media with colleagues that I don't know, but I've heard 900, 1,000, but for the studio time. And it's the same with musicians. When you book studio time for your recordings, don't you have to pay a pretty hefty fee?
My recordings, I make them on a $200 keyboard with a $30 Olympus, which I scrubbed the hell out of. I mean, after I recorded, you kidding? I live in the laundry room of a building. I mean, I'm not even supposed to be here. But there's even plumbing where I live. Are you kidding? I'm barely joking. I mean, but I think I just lost some cred with my listeners. Uh, no, I mean, I use a $500 keyboard and a little Olympus thing. And I use a lot of audio software, which I use to scrub it. But no, but here's kind of another wrinkle, which is that I think you may agree with this, which is that I don't think it's not that it's inherently wrong to pay somebody $1,500 for production or post production or for influence. The thing is that you can only pay that $1,500 so many times, and you need to know that the person to whom you're paying it really is the real deal, right?
Right,
That's sort of the problem, right?
right,
That's the problem, you know.
right. And I haven't done a professionally produced demo. I guess my thinking is when I make, the next $1,500 I make, I'll put it in a demo or 1,200 or
Hmm.
whatever. Uh, or upgrade my own equipment. I'd love to have a better microphone. I think it would make a difference.
I think you're. I don't know. I mean, I don't quite buy it. Because the quality of your stuff is actually pretty good. I don't know. Look, I think I should probably let you go, and I
Oh,
have to kind of go. But here's what I'll do. And I'm finding new people. I've been reaching out to people pretty frantically. Um, to do, because I want to do more podcast interviews. I like these podcast interviews, right? And I enjoy doing them, and I think they're pretty illuminating. They're very illuminating to me. And anyway, but so people have been saying yes to me, so I'm going to be doing more podcast interviews. And these are entrepreneurs. These are people who, in fact, they're proven entrepreneurs. These are people who actually succeeded in the business world. I mean, really
Oh,
succeeded.
good.
I mean, they're
I
actually.
look I look forward to them.
Well, the point is that I mean, even though this thing is now quite small, although it is growing, this little podcast of mine, it is growing quite a lot actually. What I'll do is, and this is not me doing you a favor at all. It's me doing me a favor, but I'll put your stuff on here. I mean, you and I will work it out off mic. I'll put some of your stuff on here, and I can promote it, and people will hear it. People will hear it. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And these are smart people. I mean, this is the people who listen to my podcast. I can tell you this right now. They're in the top, 1/3 of the top 1% in terms of IQ, and these are people all over the world. I mean, I get listeners from Saudi Arabia, from Ghana, from Korea, from all over the place. And these are I get a huge number of people from Indonesia, interestingly, and I think it's because they have a growing economy, actually. And so there's a lot of optimism, and so they like kind of people like myself who are really trying to teach. But so I'll do that, and but yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, yeah, I mean, don't do what I did, which is to spend your money unwisely, and I mean, I doubt you'll be as dumb as I was, but yeah, I wouldn't spend that money just yet. So, all right,
I
well, yeah,
I haven't just yet, but
okay,
I'll just keep learning, and hopefully there's comments or suggestions, to help me and you in the journey here. But I do think our podcast is too long.
yeah, no, that's fine. It's
We
optional.
like
It's
to
it's a
talk.
it's a bit long, but it's optional. We can put it on there, and who knows,
Quit when you want to.
Yeah, just quit when I want to. I mean, they can quit when they want to, right? That's the glory of podcasting. But look, I mean, not. I'm going to be doing, it's about volume, right? So I'm going to be doing before I experience any kind of real podcasting success, I will have done 5,000 of these interviews. So, and this is number two. So, if it's not Emmy award winning, so
Yeah,
be it.
you
Excuse me.
never know. Maybe we make it there. Well, thank you very much for having me
Absolutely,
for number two.
absolutely. And can you
Uh,
hold the line just after I
we will-
I'm gonna stop recording right now, and then you and I are gonna talk for like 1 minute. Is that okay?
Very good.
Okay.
Goodbye, everyone.
Okay. Goodbye.